Well, we want to welcome everyone here to our JumpStart Z Hills virtual series. I'm Melanie Monson, the President and CEO of the Greater Zephyr Hills Chamber of Commerce. We're thrilled to have you with us today and excited to hear from our Congressman. Our agenda is going to go as follows. First, we're going to start with the Pledge of Allegiance, and then the Congressman will speak to us for a little bit, and we'll go to a question and answer segment. At the bottom of your screen, you should be able to pull up a little tab that has a Q&A. If you have questions, please type in your questions and we will get to as many of them as possible as we go through today. And if we can't get to your questions, we will forward them on to Congressman's office and let them answer those for you. So first of all, I want to start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Dr. Randy Stovall, he's our Vice Chair of the Zephyr Hills Chamber of Commerce, is going to.
Good afternoon, everybody.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon.
We got a flag up. That's wonderful. So
very nice.
Cover your heart and join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Well, I want to introduce our guest speaker. I think everyone knows him. Congressman Guss Bilirakis represents Florida's 12th Congressional District, which includes all of Pasco and northern parts of Pinellas and Hillsborough counties. Guss serves as the Energy and Commission Committee and the Veterans Affairs Committee. He is the ranking member of the VA Economic Opportunities Subcommittee and a member of the VA Disability Assistance and Memorial Affairs Health. That's a lot of words. Health Subcommittee and Communications and Technology Subcommittee. With 27 bills he authored, signed into law between 2015 and 2018. Congressman Bilirakis was recently designated as the most effective lawmaker of the state in the state of Florida by the Center for Effective Lawmaking at Vanderbilt University. Working on bipartisan manner, his main priorities include controlling government spending, creating jobs for the middle-class Americans, finding ways for government to operate smaller and starter, and lowering taxes. He is also committed to strengthening homeland security, improving education, increasing access to quality health care, lowering the cost of prescription drugs, protecting veterans' benefits, ensuring the long-term viability of Social Security and Medicare, and improving energy preparedness. So we're excited to welcome with us Congressman Bilirakis.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it so much. Thank you, Melanie, for giving me the opportunity to brief the chamber on some of the legislation that we've had, that we passed recently. And then I also want to introduce Summer Robinson. Is Summer Robertson on yet? She's my district director and also my deputy chief of staff. We folks, we pride ourselves in casework, legislative casework, and also being as accessible and approachable as possible. And it is an honor to represent Pasco County, of course, Land O'Lakes, and of course, Zephyr Hills and Wesley Chapel, Newport Richey. I have a call this afternoon, well, at 2 o'clock with the West Pasco Chamber. I know they changed their name, but I remember that. I was involved with the chamber many, many years ago. But folks, yeah, I'm going to go briefly. I'm going to go over some of the legislation. I think that we sent it to you. But more importantly, I want you to get as much as you can out of this. And I think the best way we can do that is to answer your questions. again, I know most everything, that's passed, and I know a lot of the details, but Summer has been working directly with constituents and answering their questions and helping them out in any way we can. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and go through, if this is okay, I'm going to go through some of the legislation that passed in the CARES Act. We passed the Economic Injury Disaster Loan program, a few weeks back, and it ran out of money. So we put an additional $60 billion in that particular program. That's the one where you can get the $10,000 advance, up to $10,000, $1,000 per employee. So that's we put the additional $60 billion in that program. But I do want to tell you there's some guidance that came out recently with regard to this program, and I want to give that information to you. If your EIDL, which is a disaster loan application, starts with a number 3, you do not need to do anything further. Your applications, your application is being reviewed as quickly as possible. If your EIDL loan application starts with a number 2, the SBA needs more information, and you need to log on to the SBA website to fill out the 3-page supplemental application. Now I'm sorry about that. I don't have much control, but I'm going to apologize on behalf of the government because it's a shame. It's so frustrating. You're going through such a hard time, and then you have to refile, and we'll talk about the unemployment issue too. We'll give you, again, we're here to help. I know you say the government's here to help, but in this case, we really will help if we possibly can with a lot of these things. My number is 727-232-2921. We have 2 offices, one in Newport Richey and one in Tarpon Springs, and then we also have the part-time office at the chamber, the North Tampa chamber. And I guess you call it Lutz. And then we have Bob Hatfield, who is outstanding. I don't know whether he's on the call, but he represents me in a lot of these, in the East Pasco area, if I'm not able to get there for events. So the newly signed bill also provides $310 billion for the PPP, which is the Paycheck Protection Program. I'm not going to go through all these notes, but again, we had given $350 billion initially, but the money ran out. So a couple of weeks ago, we replenished that, but it is running out again. So I expect us probably to go back and tweak the program, because the program needs to be tweaked. There's no question. We can talk about that. But I anticipate that we'll be replenishing that fund. $60 billion, I fought for this. $60 billion of that $310 billion will be given to the community banks and the credit unions, because they seem to have been more successful than the national banks. But of course, you can still apply. You can apply for through the community bank or the national bank, or both. So you can apply with more than one bank, and then once you get accepted, hopefully you get accepted if you haven't already, then that's what they'll go with, is the bank that accepted you. So that's important. Since the establishment of the PPP, I've heard from countless small town constituent businesses, the owners, that the application process was difficult to navigate, and that many lenders were not receptive to their needs. Meanwhile, it was frustrating to discover that many well-known business chains receive millions of dollars in program funds, and that those applications may, and I say may, and all this information we're getting is basically feedback from our constituents, but they may have been prioritized, these big businesses, over the small businesses. And I really, folks, I'm fighting for the small businesses. We have legislation to prioritize the small businesses, 25 and under in this case. So we're talking about the mom and pops. And I've been working with the administration on this. They're very interested in putting this in the next phase, setting money aside for small businesses, the mom and pops, as I said. And then in addition to that, with the PPP, there's a forgiveness portion, as you know, for payroll. Now, what it says is the loan for that portion, 7 to 8 weeks that you pay employees, then that portion will be forgiven. But they have dates on it. And I think it needs to be more flexible because some of these businesses are just now getting started. So it's very difficult to pay your employees in March when you're not in business. So I've heard from my constituents on that, and we filed legislation to make it more flexible. There's going to be, I anticipate, a lot of tweaking in this next package to make it easier, more consumer friendly for our constituents. I'm also happy that Pasco County, Pinellas County did this as well. I'm very pleased that they're using money to help out the small businesses. I believe it's 4,000 or 5,000 per business, and they approved about an additional 1,400 businesses yesterday. The county did. So I'm really pleased with that. Pinellas has done the same thing. I'm not really sure about Hillsborough, but we'll look into that. But this is on top of all the federal assistance. And also the stimulus checks going out to individuals. Well, those on Social Security income or those that are on Social Security disability, they should have gotten their checks by now. They're $1,200 each. Now, if they haven't, and you know someone that hasn't gotten their check, please have us contact my office again, and we'll make sure that they get those checks. Now, people that are on veterans disability, those are our heroes, and I'm not happy that the checks are coming in late, believe me, but we've got to move forward now. So anybody with veterans disability, well, of course they're going to receive their disability check, but they also are entitled to the stimulus check as well. They should be receiving that check by this Friday if they haven't already, okay? And then also those that are on SSI, the same thing. They'll receive their checks by this Friday, all right? The unemployment issue is huge. It's a real problem. It's a very big problem. People are getting denied. Now, I don't know, is Summer on the call yet?
I've been on the call, sir, yes.
Oh, she is. Oh, she's been on the call. I just can't see her then. Okay, Summer, I can explain this, but I think you have more detail with regard to the unemployment.
Okay.
So in the best interest of the members, I think it might be best for you to explain the issue and give them any direction they need.
Okay.
And then we'll move on to questions, okay?
Okay, so for unemployment, obviously that's a state program administered through the state. However, we did in the CARES Act expand unemployment benefits for an additional $600 a week in pandemic unemployment assistance. And also, we've allowed the expansion of the people who are eligible to participate. We opened it up to sole proprietors, independent contractors, and those who are still working but are working less hours than they were due to the coronavirus. So the state has had significant trouble with its application system. It's received over 2 million applications, and only about 400,000 of those have been processed so far. And out of the 400,000 that have been processed, about 60% have been denied. The state has come out last week and said that anyone who applied and has been denied, especially if they applied prior to April 4th, they have to resubmit an application because their current system will not allow the state to go back in and process their application. I know that's frustrating. People have had all sorts of trouble being able to get through on the system and being able to apply, but they are starting to fulfill it and starting to increase the number of applications that are processed. The website goes down every night in order for the state to continually make upgrades, but we're hearing lots of stories of error messages. We're working, the state has opened a portal for congressional and state offices to reach out on individuals' behalf. So we've submitted over 1,600 individual requests for assistance on behalf of our constituents. And we're finding that a lot of them are now starting to receive their checks. So if you have someone that is in need of assistance, you can ask them to send if they live in our district, ask them to send an email to FL12 unemploymenthelp@mail.house.gov. And I will send that email address in the chat box. And then that'll enable us to reach out to the state on their behalf regarding their specific issue. So that has been the most successful strategy that we've had so far. And again, people that are eligible for the pandemic assistance, for those that are in the category where their eligibility was expanded, the sole proprietor, the independent contractors, and those who are working less hours, they should be receiving the $600 a week plus half of whatever they would have been entitled to if they were eligible for state aid. So the state aid goes up to $275 a week. So they would be eligible for half of that plus the $600. And so that's the update that I have. You're welcome to share that email address with people if they need individual assistance. And though we don't have direct input into the operation of the program and the administration, we are sharing feedback daily with the governor's office and the state team and trying to put that information out as quickly as possible on our Facebook page, the Congressman's Facebook page. So I would encourage you, if you're having people that are struggling, they can reach out for their individual case, and then they should check our Facebook and monitor it because we are putting updates on there regularly as we get new news from the state. Thank you, sir. I'll turn it back over to you.
Yeah, we have more information to give out, but a lot of it was given out by Summer. There's guidance with regard to PPP, and of course the independent contractors and the sole proprietors are also eligible for PPP, but they have to have an employee. They have to pay themselves or pay their spouse or pay someone else. That's important to know. And there's additional information, but I think it's best, if you don't mind, Melanie, maybe we should take some questions.
All right. Just to let everyone know, we did turn off the chat feature because of last week we had some hackers on, and we did not want that. But if anybody wants to type in a question, that'd be great. I have one here from Sophia Martin. It says, "Good afternoon, Congressman. Do you have any information on those who worked, submitted a tax return, but were claimed as dependents, but did not get a stimulus check, and their parents did not get the $500 per child? My parents received their stimulus check of $2,400 total. They were not paid the $500 child for the child, me and my brother."
How old? The question is, how old are the children? If they're claimed as dependents, if they're claimed as dependents by the parents, they're not eligible for the stimulus check. But if they're 16 or under, then the parents should have gotten the $500 check for each child.
Okay, so she just wrote that they're 18 and 19.
Yeah, they're not eligible.
So they're not eligible.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers that question, Sophia. Okay, and we will have Summer send me a little email with the information and the website where you guys can get on and ask if you need some assistance. So we'll put that out in a email blast for our members.
Of course, and then our website is bilirakis.house.gov as well.
Okay, great. And then she had said in order for if they needed help FL12 unemployment help at mail.house.gov. So we'll put that out on email. If you girls will write that down for me, okay? So here's a couple of questions that I had that people sent in early, and please, if you guys have questions, please send them over so we can, okay. All right, I have a second question here from Christopher Johnson. He wants to know, are there any plans for a second stimulus payment?
Yeah, I think so. Now, I will tell you this. We haven't seen any drafts yet. They're still negotiating. That's why I think we should be in DC right now, voting, being in committee hearings, marking up the bills, instead of having the leadership on both sides making decisions. But if I had to make the call, I would say that there will be another stimulus check coming out to individuals, because the president's in favor of that. And I know that Pelosi, Speaker Pelosi, is in favor of that as well. I think it's a good idea. I mean, it stimulates the economy as well. And there are a lot of people that are hurting, really hurting. And, we have, Summer has additional information for some of these people that need help with their, well, first of all, if they need food for their kids or their families. And there's additional help too from the county, because we've sent them, I believe it was $2 million, Pasco County.
They received $97 million.
Or 97, but there
Yes.
there was one particular program was $2 million.
CDBG.
Yeah.
CDBG, but
But 97 million was sent, and there's a lot of flexibility as far as how the county can use those funds.
they open up their application tomorrow. Melanie, I believe you sent that out to your members. I think I saw an email for the CARES. That's the CARES program that the county's running, and it opens up their portal. That can be used for car payments, utilities, rental, or mortgage assistance. But it is the county has limited it so far to only 1,200 applicants. So I anticipate that those dollars will be distributed very quickly.
Yeah, I feel the same way, Summer, and that's one of the things we were going to talk about, to make sure if any of you guys online are in need of help with your, house payment, car, rent, those type of things, tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. you need to get on and apply for that money through the Pasco County. So, all right. So here's a question. So let's see. How do you foresee the challenges for voters in making their decisions in what appears to be a very different campaign season for everyone?
Yeah, it's uncharted territory. It really is. I think you're gonna have a little bit of everything, and of course we don't know what it's gonna be like in August with the primary, and November with the general election. But I think you're going to have a little bit of everything. I think that people will be mailing in their ballots a little more, meaning absentee ballots. You'll probably have a lot of early voting, but you'll have same-day voters. And again, if we practice the social distancing, that's so very important. And then encouraging people to wear the masks when possible. I think we're going to have an election, and I really think that it's going to work out fine. But we have challenges. We're going to have to face those challenges. We don't even know what it's going to be like next year. I mean, this virus may come back, unfortunately, in the fall, but it hasn't even left us yet. But I think we'll get through this election. I don't believe that the election will be delayed. I just don't see that happening.
Okay. All right. So I have another question. This one's from Denise. I work at a credit union, and still a lot of people have not received their stimulus check. Are they still being sent out?
Yes. And we have a portal. We've been in touch with the IRS on these particular issues. So I would recommend that constituents contact our office and see what we can do. again, the checks are still being sent out. So there's still real possibility people qualify. They need to get their checks, and we want to make sure that they do.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Yeah, I was
Sure.
talking to my parents yesterday, and they're retired, obviously, but they had not received theirs. So I'll let them know that they should
Yeah,
by
please.
Friday. Yeah, that's
Please,
great to know. So
because they
in the
really
next,
should have gotten it before now.
okay,
But again, if they don't get it, please contact our office
okay.
because we want to be helpful.
That's great. So do you think in this next round, I know that I personally and hundreds of chambers have petitioned to get 501c6s and all the 501s included into the help. Do you think that, what's the chances that we'll all be included? I mean, I sit here watching our chambers and everyone's working 12, 15 hours a day, 7 days a week to help our businesses right now. So, you know, we're a very vital part of our communities.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Chamber does a wonderful job. I have signed a letter early on encouraging the Congress to include the 501c6s. Yeah, again, you know, I haven't seen anything as far as there's I don't think there's anything in writing yet with regard to a draft bill. They're still negotiating. I anticipate that the 501c6s will be included this time. And that's, you know, you have the National Alzheimer's Association that is really hurting because, you know, they have that one tax ID number and they have more than 500 employees, but the chapters, the local chapters are not anywhere close to 500 employees. And I know you have that with the chambers all over the country as well.
Right.
So I think that's going to get covered this time. Again, I'm guessing, but based on what I've been hearing, I'm on conference calls constantly with the Republican leadership. I'm on bipartisan conference calls with the chairman of the Energy and Commerce Committee, the Veterans Committee, and I think that we're in the administration. Mnuchin has been in touch with us. You know, he held off on that 501c6, 501(6) the first time, but I don't think that's going to happen this time. I think we're going to be the chambers will be included.
That'd be great. I wanted to give kudos to our Florida State Chamber of Commerce. They are on top of things. Mr.
They always
Wilson,
are.
Yeah, he is really keeping us informed, and we're doing really well with being able to put information out there. So Sophia says, I'm excited to say I will be interning for you this summer, Congressman. When do you think the offices will be open to us interns? I'm anxious to begin. I'm scheduled to start June 15th. Isn't that exciting?
Yeah, that's wonderful. It's a wonderful opportunity. And you really, you know, we don't just have the interns paper push or anything like that, just answer the phones or what have you. We have them do real work. Of course, they're supervised by our staff. So it'll be a great experience for you, Sophia. The thing is, I can't guarantee when it's going to happen. My offices are open down here full-time with full-time employees. Up in DC right now, because you know, the local law they're shut down till May 15th. We have 2 staffers in the office constantly every day, and everyone else is working remotely. So it's got to be safe. I hope it happens. I really do, because it's a wonderful opportunity. We usually work very heavily in DC. Our busiest months are June and July. So, Sophia, I hope you get that experience. I can't promise anything because I don't make that decision. Speaker of the House does. But we'll keep looking into it and keep in touch with my DC office or the local office, and we'll keep you informed, okay?
All right. So I have a couple more questions.
Okay.
This one's from Zane. Looking more at Tampa, when do you foresee a relative return to normalcy with travel, etc.?
Yeah. I think, it's a new normal. It's going to be a new normal. The governor has issued his executive order. We're in phase one. And I agreed with him on this. I think the businesses should be open. I know we have the 25% capacity, and that's probably good at the beginning. And of course, the restaurants can have outdoor cafes. The travel, well, we're traveling now, but not many people are traveling. I'm on the plane. When I have to go vote up there, I'm on the plane. I wish I could be up there full time. But, there are 8 people on the plane, including, my staffers. At least one staffer with me that travels with me. So the travel, I think, is going to be a little slower, but I think you'll start seeing the businesses open. And right now I need a haircut. But I know that we're not ready for that yet at this time. And I don't have anybody in the family that cuts hair, so.
Well,
I just shave it all off. What the
there
heck?
you go.
We have no problems.
I gave myself one this morning, so
Did you? It looks good.
There you go. So
It looks good.
we make do when we have to.
Yeah,
I have Katie Mansfield. I believe she's running for judge here in Pasco County. She says, under the CARES Act, who applies for the relief, the homeowner or the renter? If it's the homeowner and the homeowner works, but the renter doesn't, will the application of the homeowner be denied because of their job status?
Well, yeah, Summer, take that, because I'm not exactly sure what they're referring to, but go ahead and take that, please.
I'm assuming she means the CARES program through the county, and they establish their own rules. And it's a little confusing because the CARES Act is the federal law, and then they decided to call their program the CARES program. So it's been a little bit confusing. But my understanding is that the applications, as long as they meet the income criteria, it can be either the owner or the renter can apply. But it has to be it only is for residences that are homesteaded. So most likely, it needs to be the renter who applies, because the owner, if let's say you own a second home, you are likely you have another property homesteaded. So I don't believe you can homestead and rent out your property. So it would need to be the renter.
Right. And hey, Summer, it's Katie. And yes, and that's kind of what it is. So there's 2 homes. One is their residence, and then they rent out a second one. And the person that's renting it is furloughed. So they were wondering, basically, do I apply for it? Because
the renter would apply. They're offering both rental assistance and homeowner mortgage assistance, right. But it's for the primary person who's being impacted that can't pay their bill. So if I needed it for my home and I was impacted, I would apply. But if the guy down the street rents his home and he needs it, he should apply.
Perfect. All right. That's what I thought. Just clarifying. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
We're very fortunate in this office to have people like Summer who are engaged in the community. It's a lot of these issues are not federal, but she keeps in touch with the community and goes to the meetings and what have you when I'm unable to go. Even with the state, because we were in the legislature, I was in the legislature for 8 years. Summer was with me there. She was with Heather Ferrantino for the rest of the time. It's unique. Well, we can answer a lot of your questions or get you to the right people.
One thing I do. Oh, sorry, sir.
No, go ahead.
One thing I do want to say is that you should keep your eye out. Later this week, there will be an announcement. I'm on the board of the United Way of Pasco, and we are partnering with the county, and we'll be working with local restaurants to provide food to anybody who needs food. And we'll be working with local United Way partner agencies to distribute that food. So that announcement should be coming later this week. They hope to have it up and operational by next week. So that'll be something that we'll make sure gets distributed as well.
Wonderful. Thank you, Summer.
Summer, have you given them the guidance that we received yesterday with regard to the PPP?
Yes.
How they can use the
Mhm.
PPP
Yes.
funds? Okay.
Yes.
Good.
And it's a very long document, but it is helpful for if you have applicants who have specific questions. A lot of that guidance does answer those questions.
And then also, Summer, if you could let them know about the banks, you don't have to name them right now, but if anyone's interested, they can call you and you'll give them a couple of banks, maybe 3 or 4 banks that have been successful.
Yeah, it would actually be best if they emailed me. If you're a small business that hasn't gotten your PPP approved through your local lender and you want to apply through someone else, as the Congressman said, there's no penalty for doing that. You don't actually get 2 loans. The SBA just accepts the first one that puts you into the E-Tran system. They've asked that we not widely distribute their information, but if we have individuals, we can provide them with the individual's name, and then they've been reaching out to our constituents. So if you email me your name, your telephone number, and your email address, then I will forward that to the CEOs of those banks who we've been working with. And they've had a pretty quick turnaround time of like 48 hours for the businesses that we've sent them. So
yeah, and I want to make it clear, we're not endorsing these banks.
Right.
absolutely not.
It's just that because we get the feedback from our
Right.
constituents, I
Right.
think we have a duty to disclose the names of 3 or 4 banks that have been helping out because it's easier on our constituents.
Right, and I'll kind of give a little, on our website, we do have a list of our community banks that are doing really well with this.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if any of our people are having problems, I believe our people are doing really well. They'll let me know if they're not, and I kind of am helping them to go forward. So I have probably our last question right here, and this one includes what my husband would say, the law of unintended consequences. Okay. So
we have a lot of that up in DC.
we have that, and he reminds me of that quite often. But as the chamber CEO, this is a concern that I have for my business members. As part of the PPP loan forgiveness, the employers have to call back their employees or rehire new ones. And what's happening is they go to call back their employees, and they are making so much more on unemployment with that $600 benefit that their employees are not wanting to come back. So then they move on to hiring them, wanting to hire an employee, but they don't want to come on either because they are making, for 4 months, they're making $800 and some odd dollars, whereas our average income here in Pasco County is $30,000. So this is, I mean, very few of us make $800 a week. I'm just being honest with you. So what can they do? Our employers, our employers, I'm just concerned. I do not want them to get to the end of this PPP and have to pay back because they couldn't get employees to.
That's actually addressed in the PPP guidance, Melanie. All they have to do is submit their request, their invitations for their employee to come in writing, and as long as they've done that, the state will. The SBA explains how they'll calculate it, but they're gonna, as long as they've made the good faith effort. The other thing is, if they have offered the job back to the employee and the employee is refusing to take it, that employee is no longer eligible for unemployment benefits. And the state and the federal government has said that that is fraud if they continue to file for unemployment after they've been offered their job back, and they will be prosecuting that in a way that they never have before. So that might be good guidance for you to for your employers to share with their employees, and that they need to document. Basically, the PPP guidance, which I just sent you, also just kind of outlines as a protection for the employer that they have to put the request for them to return in writing, and they have to keep that documentation.
So they would send a request. They would document that as a email or a certified letter to their employee, right?
Right.
And then if their employee refuses to come back, who would they send that copy to so that gets I don't want to
It
get,
goes to their lender, and it's all outlined in the PPP guidance that I'm sending. But the copy of the letter goes to the lender so that the lender can factor that into the portion of their grant that can be forgiven. So
perfect,
um,
perfect.
and then as well, they can, all fraud, the Department of I guess DEO, whatever
DEO, yes.
the State Department is also taking all fraud calls. So if an employer wanted to report their employee for fraud, they could certainly do that if the employee continued to collect unemployment after being offered to come back to work.
Thank you. That
Now,
does help.
And I will tell you this, your husband's right. The Senate, the Republicans in the Senate, let's be honest, try to strip that out, that $600, because they were concerned about the unintended consequences of people getting the unemployment benefit. Like you said, that's a lot of money, $875 a week. And some people are not used to making that much. And they're concerned that, again, they were concerned about getting back employees. And we tried to take it out. Now, of course, what happens is, at least under the last bill, the last couple bills, it was all negotiated between the Senate and the president. So the administration, the president, Mnuchin had a big role in that. But the position of the president's was that $600 is a lot of money for people, and it's an incentive. And you can't blame people either to a certain extent. It's an incentive not to work in a lot of cases. And I know that's controversial, but we couldn't get it out, strip it out in the Senate. So we had to, obviously I was going to vote for the bill because our businesses need, the businesses need this PPP. They need the disaster loans, and our constituents need these stimulus checks as soon as possible. And so this time, I don't think it's going to be stripped out, personally. I think we're going to have to live with that. And it will help out a lot of people. It's just that, we want people to get back to work when it's safe. And I know this is a tough time for everyone. And we appreciate your cooperation. And I do want to let you know that we're here for you. I'll give you another update if you'd like after the next piece of legislation. I anticipate that will go through. It may include infrastructure, which I think is a good idea. Personally, I think it's a good opportunity. It puts people to work, and we need to fix our bridges and our roads in the worst way. And then I know that the speaker wants more money for the state and local governments. And I'm okay with that as long as it's related to the coronavirus, because I know we have to pay our first responders, what have you. We have to help out our hospitals, and we have. But I don't want to bail out, a state that has been fiscally irresponsible prior to the virus. I don't think we should be using our taxpayer dollars to bail out some of these states like New York. And I love New York, don't get me wrong, but they've been fiscally irresponsible. So in any case, that's all I have to say. And I appreciate you very much. And I appreciate my staff. Summer does an outstanding job for us, and keep in touch.
Well, thank you, sir. You do
pleasure.
have a great staff. We work
they
closely with Bob Hatfield, and
He's awesome,
Dan.
isn't he?
Yep, Dan is great. Summer's
Dan
amazing. So we appreciate you working with us, and we thank you for coming. I'm going to pop up a little poll for my people on the call. If you'll just take a second to take the poll for me, and then I hope you guys enjoyed our JumpStart series featuring Congressman Bilirakis today. Next week, we're going to be hosting more of a hands-on presentation with Kevin Sullivan, and he'll be talking about how can you boost your social media during this time, and be able to strengthen your business, because it's uncharted territory for all of us. So we want to thank all of you guys for coming, and thank you, Congressman, for taking the time to be with us.
My pleasure. My pleasure. Thank
Take
you.
care.